So last session, we came up with 2 goals together, one of which being to decrease your saturated fat intake to less than 10%. We talked about the different meat alternatives other than red meat. And we also talked about incorporating whole grains into the diet instead of refined grains, so replacing that approximately 3 days per week to increase fiber consumption as well. But I also know that your doctor wanted you to be on a low-carb, high-protein diet. So can you tell me about your progress so far and how you've been doing?
So one of my goals was also to incorporate, I think, more vegetables and stuff like that.
Right.
So I've recently started doing, like, you had given me a recipe on, like, a spinach fruit smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually found quite a few recipes on that. So between kale, spinach, and mixed greens, mixed with like different types of frozen fruits, which I've really enjoyed. So doing that.
Yeah.
I also found a recipe for a spaghetti squash. So I actually did that where I baked the spaghetti squash and used ground turkey with like red sauce, basically,
right.
Which turned out to be really good. My husband actually really even enjoyed it.
Right.
He said he could tell a difference because it wasn't really spaghetti, but it was still really good.
Right. So it seems like you've been really incorporating the goals we've talked about. They seem to be important to you. I also know we talked about beans. So in your first trimester of pregnancy, they didn't seem to agree with you. But have you tried them since?
I didn't really get a chance to try, since our last meeting, I didn't really get a chance to try, like, beans in particular. That is my goal, to still get.
Right, and you only want to try things that you're comfortable with at the given moment, so that's great.
I didn't want to do too many things at one time.
Right. It's better to start small and then build up, because once you accomplish those goals, then we can move on to the next thing. So were there any barriers or complications related to these goals? I know before we talked about your husband having a hard time trying or incorporating the new foods that you wanted to try. So how has that been going?
Still a challenge there, because he's just still so used to certain things being like certain foods a certain way. But still just trying to, I found that meal prepping, some of that stuff was a lot harder. Just because I don't know why it was harder, but normally with like spaghetti and stuff like that, you just throw it into a pot of water type of thing. Whereas this one, the squash, I could barely cut it. It was really hard to cut through. And then the baking part was easy, and then just forking it out. But I think it's more so like time wise, it took a lot more time to prep that kind of stuff. And then it was like we had to split time. So instead of me and him just doing things at the same time, I needed time to prep, then he needed time to prep, so it was but I think once we get on board with us both trying to eat the same thing.
So it seems like the preparation and the time aspect was a little difficult, because I know you have a really busy schedule, so it must be hard trying to incorporate all of these new changes.
But it was manageable.
Right. So do you have any suggestions for how to overcome these barriers, or what have you been doing to try to overcome these barriers?
I just know I need to do it. It's one of those things that it's not even, knowing that it's a challenge, it's just okay. But just trying to find ways to get around those challenges.
And do you mind if I offer you a suggestion?
Sure.
So I know the preparation aspect was the hard part or the time-consuming part for you. I know sometimes they have, like, especially like spaghetti squash, I know they have pre-made. So if you buy it just like already cut, and then you know how you like use the fork and you make it into the spaghetti, I know you can buy that, and it may be a little more expensive, but ultimately it's your decision whether you want to buy that or you want to just take the time to do it. So that could be a potential option for something you could try.
That's true.
And has your husband tried any of the other meat alternatives besides ground turkey?
It's a work in progress.
It's a
work in progress.
Seems like he's doing a really good job, though, and he's cognizant of how the certain foods make him feel and trying new foods.
Definitely. And I think once I get more into it and more comfortable with my abilities in it, then I feel like I'll get more buy-in from him. Right now it's me trying this out, seeing if I like it, because he even, when I did the smoothie I had done, he was like, that looks disgusting. And I was like, and I tried it, and it actually tasted really good.
Right.
And his thing is he waits to see how I respond. Like, if I like it, then he'll try it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know with those smoothies, sometimes it's hard to get past the look of it sometimes, but it tastes just like a normal fruit smoothie. Mm-hmm. What did you end up putting in it? I know you were talking about kale.
Yeah, so different days I've done different things. So one day it was like spinach, apple, banana, mango. Like I bought a bag of like the tropical mix, frozen fruit. It had like a few different things inside of it. And then I bought a bag of strawberries and blueberries. So just mixing different things, trying. Right. And then I did flaxseed in it and just some water just to help it mix up.
So to summarize, we talked about the 2 goals that we came up with together. You've been working on those goals and putting your goals into action. And you've been working to overcome any barriers, working with your husband to try and make him try new foods as well. So hopefully you can be in the process together. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any further questions or concerns. I'd always love to help.
Perfect.